What's up, Meta Nerds? Today's video is going to be about perhaps one of the strangest droids in all of Star Wars. What makes these droids so interesting is that they're basically a technological way to perform an essence transfer, like we see with Darth Bane. Where an essence transfer would allow a Force user to transfer their consciousness into another living being, Palpatine ensured that his will could carry on long after his death by developing droids that had basically his essence in an algorithm. It's kind of a hard concept to explain, but kind of how Google and YouTube are able to make almost a psychological profile of you based on your interests and decisions that you make. In the Star Wars universe, the technology is available to create a full psychological profile of you. This information comes from some of the Canon comics in the Aftermath Empire's End novel. In it, we see how Palpatine could sense that the events of the Return of the Jedi would change the course of galactic history, but he wasn't sure how it would play out. Always a detailed planner, Palpatine had devised something that he called the contingency. This contingency plan was basically directions for how the Empire should behave in the unlikely death of the Emperor. But Darth Raisin here decided to take it one step further. He knew that even the best laid plans now couldn't adapt to things that might occur in the future. And thus the Sentinels were created, imbued with their complex personality replicating programs, combined with a terrifying visor that projected Palpatine's face, and not to mention the fact that it actually sounded like Palpatine, and you got yourself one of the creepiest droids in both canon and legends. Just listen to how Gallius Rax, who is basically Palpatine's heir to the Empire, describes these robots.
The figure in the cloak turns. The face of Emperor Sheev Palpatine looks back upon him. That face flickers across the glass bulge of the droid's mask. It is artifice, but even as a proxy, it is close enough to the real thing to haunt him. Other Sentinels were merely messengers. They appeared, gave commands, and were gone. But these, the ones reserved for Rax and their master plan, are smarter. They're sentient.
It's important to point out here that there were different versions of these droids. The ones Rax deals with, he describes as actually being sentient, self-aware thinking droids, which really begs the question, should you even call them droids anymore? But there were also simpler versions that still maintained all the other Palpatine vibes and looks and sounds, but just delivered simple messages. They could display holo projectors from their hands, and a very creepy touch of a little needle that would come out and identify whoever they're speaking with by reading their blood. Palpatine had been commissioning these droids as far back as 20 years before the Battle of Yavin, with one of their first roles being the protection of the observatory on Jakku. What's really awesome about this is that we get to see a Sentinel droid in the very first trailer for Battlefront 2. To me, that means that the voice that we hear in the trailer isn't Palpatine's, but rather one of these Sentinel droids. Then we have to wonder if the droid that we see in this trailer is just one of these simple messenger droids, or is it like the sentient, fully thinking droids that Gallius Rax describes? Another interesting point to consider is that in the Empire's End novel, these Sentinel droids were also capable fighters and able to pilot starships. So could this Palpatine bot go from obscurity to being a playable hero? I want to know what you guys think. Is this droid an awesome addition in the new canon, or is it just too weird for you? Do you think the idea of piloting a TIE fighter as a robot Palpatine is awesome, or just kind of silly? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe for even more Star Wars content. Remember, may the Force be with you, always.